Have you ever wondered why some online connections just click while others totally fizzle out into that awkward silence? It can feel like you're just rolling the dice every time. But what if I told you it's not about luck at all? It's actually a science. Building trust with strangers online has a playbook. And today, we're going to crack it open.
Right? It's the question we've all asked ourselves after hitting send and just waiting. Well, the answer is pretty simple, but it changes everything. Online, every single signal you send, no matter how small, is getting magnified. Without a handshake or a smile to go on, we're playing a totally different game with a brand new set of rules.
And this is where the game really gets interesting. See, in the real world, we're working with this whole symphony of signals. Body language, tone of voice, you name it. But online, all of that just vanishes. Instead, tiny little things like your word choice, how quickly you reply, or how consistent your profiles are, they become absolutely massive. They are, for all intents and purposes, your new body language. So to get a handle on this, we have to realize that the path to building trust actually splits depending on what you're trying to do. Making a connection on LinkedIn is a completely different universe from trying to build one on a dating app. So let's dive into these two worlds, because trust me, each one has its own unique rulebook.
Okay, first up, the professional world. In this arena, you just don't have time for months of back and forth. You need to show you're credible and reliable, and you need to do it like yesterday. The key to unlocking this is a really cool concept from research called swift trust. And here's the kicker. Swift trust isn't about being charming or witty. It's about being incredibly clear. It's basically a cognitive shortcut our brains use when we're dealing with someone new in a professional setting. You build it by instantly answering the questions rattling around in their head. Why are you writing to me? Why me specifically? What do you want from me? And most importantly, what's the easy way out if I'm not interested? Here is a perfect example of swift trust in action. Just look at the structure. Step 1 gives a clear, specific reason for the connection. Step 2 shows you've done your homework with a real question, not a lazy sales pitch. And step 3, this is the magic part, it offers to move things forward, but it also gives them a totally graceful, no-pressure exit. That signals respect and integrity, which makes you instantly trustworthy.
Okay, but what happens when your goal isn't just about being efficient? What if it's about genuine connection? Well, that's when we switch gears entirely and leave the professional world behind. In dating and friendship, the most important factor isn't clarity, it's something else: responsiveness. So, what does that even mean? It means showing them you're not just reading their words, you're actually hearing them. And the research on this is crystal clear. People feel more liked, more understood, and more connected to you when you ask them questions, especially follow-up questions about a little detail they mentioned. It's the digital version of leaning in and saying, "Oh, that's interesting, tell me more." Now, this responsiveness can lead to this really wild phenomenon that researchers call the hyper-personal model. See, because we can edit our messages perfectly, and because we fill in all the missing gaps about the other person with our own imagination, online connections can feel incredibly intense, incredibly fast. This can be magical for sure, but there's a huge risk. You might be building a connection with a fantasy you created, not a real person. So, to build a real connection and avoid that hyper-personal trap, you can use a structured approach like this curiosity ladder. It starts with something solid, builds with real follow-ups and little bits of self-disclosure, and then, and this part is so important, it introduces a reality cue, like a voice note, before suggesting a safe, totally optional meeting. This helps ground the fantasy in some actual reality. Okay, so we've looked at the two big paths, professional and personal. But what about the tools that work everywhere? The fundamentals that are running under the hood no matter who you're talking to? Well, let's get into the basics of your digital body language. The first one, and it's so powerful, is called language style matching, or LSM. Just think of it as the online version of mirroring someone's posture in a conversation. It's that subtle, subconscious way you start to align your writing style with theirs. And get this, studies show that when this matching happens, it's a huge predictor that a relationship is going to get off the ground and actually last. Now, let's be clear. The goal here is not to be a creepy copycat. Artificially mimicking someone just feels weird. Instead, it's all about calibration. Pay attention to the pacing. Are they sending you novels or one-liners? Match their general length. Watch the register. Are they all emojis and slang, or is it more formal? And try to maintain a consistent rhythm. Being reliable is often way more important than being fast.
All right, on to another super powerful universal tool, and this one is all about proof. It's called warranting theory, and the idea is actually incredibly simple. We trust information about someone a lot more when it comes from a source that they can't easily control. But simply, what other people say about you is always more believable than what you say about yourself. Just think about your own profile for a minute. Your bio, those perfectly chosen photos, that's you, completely in control of the story. But photo tags from your friends, comments other people leave on your posts, your shared connections, recommendations on LinkedIn, those are other generated cues. They act as verifiable proof or warrants that you are who you claim to be. Look, building trust is an incredible skill, but like any powerful tool, it can absolutely be misused. We can't have an honest talk about building trust if we don't also talk about the people who are trying to exploit it. So let's talk about how to protect yourself. This quote really hits the nail on the head. See, the most sophisticated scammers don't hack computer systems. They hack people. They use the exact same principles we've been talking about, building rapport, creating time pressure, making casual conversation, but they do it for criminal reasons. So, what does that hacking of trust actually look like? You have to be on the lookout for these classic red flags. Remember that hyperpersonal model? Scammers weaponize it through love bombing and getting intense way too fast. Pushing you over to WhatsApp immediately, that's about isolation. And of course, any weird excuse for why they can't video chat or any request for money, that is a giant flashing, blaring alarm bell. So before you ever escalate an online connection to a call or a real-life meeting, just run through this quick mental safety checklist. Is the energy genuinely mutual and positive? Is the plan for a safe public place? And here's the most important one. How do they react when you set a boundary? Is no accepted easily and gracefully? A truly trustworthy person will always make you feel like you have an easy, judgment-free way out. And that really brings us to the core of it all, doesn't it? We've just spent all this time learning the mechanics behind trust signals, the science of online connection. But it all comes back to this one central tension. In a world where we're all hyper-aware of the signals we're sending, how do we use these tools not just to appear trustworthy, but to genuinely show someone who we really are? How do you prove you're the real deal? That's something to think about.